I used to train like twice a day and then drink my body weight in water. Like, I don't even know what I was doing. It was insane. I was always peeing. I was always dehydrated. I couldn't make sense of it. But, then upon learning about physiology deeper and understanding, that water flushes out your minerals, that you can't just drink plain water all day in that amount and expect to be hydrated.
I'm Kitty Bloomfield, co-founder of New Strength and Saturée, creator of pro-metabolic food supplements and seriously saturated skincare. And today I've got the gorgeous Noelle back on the podcast. She's been on, have you been on twice?
Yeah, twice.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Okay.
she lives in the US and she lives on this incredible property. Like, go follow her on Instagram. And she's got 2 kids and she makes all this amazing food, like sourdough, everything. And every time I see your stories, I'm like, oh, that looks so good. Sometimes I get adventurous and I make her coffee recipe, which is like egg yolk, and I put brown sugar and coffee and collagen and milk. And it is like, if I don't want to have breakfast, if I'm going out to breakfast a bit later, I have that first because I want to have a coffee, and it's divine. It is so
That's
nice.
awesome.
Yeah. So maybe just quickly, Noelle, for people who don't know you, just tell them
Yeah.
a little bit more about who you are and what you do. And
Yeah. So I am sort of like an ex-health coach in the field, and share my knowledge on Instagram for free. But my husband and I have online courses and a supplement and beauty care company where we sell pro-metabolic supplements and skincare in the US. And then I share about motherhood and homeschooling and home birthing on my Instagram account. And so I primarily encourage women to ditch diets and fully nourish their bodies, and from a pro-metabolic ancestral sort of approach of nutrition, but also a very like slow living sort of lifestyle with your kids. So kind of all of
yeah,
it.
you're like, how slow can that be? Yeah.
Yeah.
But I understand.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's always like out milking the bloody cows, and like, and she was just talking about the milk and how I said, "Oh, is it just incredible? It must be beautiful."
Yeah, it's beautiful and it's really amazing to like go out there in the morning. I wear my daughter on my back, and then my son sort of he helps me, or he'll like chase the sheep away, or he'll just ride his bike around. He just kind of plays, and it's really cool because I didn't grow up like that, but I was always like really nature oriented, and wanted to like kind of had that lifestyle. And so it's awesome to see like my kids just like from the start like being involved in farm life and just spending 90% of their days outside and knowing where their food comes from, and like all of it without having this emotional sort of attachment or resistance to food. Like
Mm.
my kids are going to grow up just nourishing their bodies because like that's the food that they know. It's not going to be this complicated thing. And there's no unlearning involved, which is so beautiful. So I really do enjoy everything that we're doing, even though it's very hard work.
It does. It looks like you have busy days. It's interesting what you were saying about the unlearning. I just tell you, I did this podcast with Danny and Jay, and we were talking about restrictive diets. And when I first found Emma, my business partner, the nutrition coach, and people who are listening to this will know who she is. So she's also like practices a repeat inspired nutrition, approach as
Yes.
well. And I remember doing some consults with her initially, and I was like, oh, this is just like how my grandma used to feed me. So my grandma, who's dead now, I just loved her so much. Like, she was such a homely, motherly, like, we'd make Christmas cakes and we'd do crafts,
Amazing.
and she'd take me to see Annie. And so I just remember the food that, like, for breakfast, she'd squeeze oranges for breakfast, like make fresh juice. She'd cut
Yeah.
pawpaw down from a tree and she'd pour the juice over. We'd have eggs cooked in butter. So she always had this little like container of butter in a glass, little, people can't see what I'm doing, but a little lid thing on the bench. She cooked with
Yes.
lard, lots of roast meats, parsnips, potatoes. I never remember a ton of green
Mm.
vegetables, only like with the roast, sometimes she'd do Brussels sprouts, but they'd be really well cooked
Mm-hmm.
in like pork fat and pork and like, you know,
Yeah.
and she'd make
Yeah.
cakes and like ice cream and custard, and the milk would get delivered in the glass bottles.
So good.
It was just, and she'd make kidneys on toast for my granddad. Oh, it smelled gross.
Mm.
Like with parsley, I still remember she'd make it. But just all
Yeah.
the way that we eat now, the yum, and she'd make her own cakes and Vicky's shortbread. Oh God, she made the most amazing shortbread, and now
So good.
I just kept eating like that.
Yeah, I know. Isn't that crazy? I speak to so many people online that were actually raised like eating that way and like have
Mm,
gone so far off that spectrum to eating vegan or
mm,
just but more like junk food vegan and then
mm,
fruitarian and all these different things. And finally, in their late 20s, they make their way back to real food. And it's so interesting how that happens. I wasn't raised on food like that. I mean, we had whole real food. I didn't eat a lot of junk food, but I started practicing holistic health and like really getting into Ayurvedic medicine and Chinese medicine when I was 12. So most
mm,
of my life, like I spent anyways, just sort of eating whole real foods. But it wasn't until my early 20s that I found Ray Peat's work and sort of like had to unlearn everything I went to school for nutrition for and then relearn it, which is so interesting. I feel like we all have to kind of make our way back to this whole real food, supporting like our digestive systems and our thyroid way of eating and living, because it's more
mm,
than just food too. It's a
mm,
way of life, because you can't be like stressed out eating food and then expect to feel good. You have to be your nervous system has to be regulated. You have to feel relaxed in order to digest and absorb your food properly. And I
mm,
think that's something that people make as a mistake too in their healing journey. They're like trying to like do all the things, like let me get all the things right, and they're completely overlooking the fact that they're incredibly stressed and unhappy.
mm.
So you got to be happy with your food, but I think that comes with time and with educating yourself on physiology and like how the body works, because like once you know how the body works and like the nutritional content of certain foods, like what they do to the body, it's very easy to like feed yourself. And then it's just like, oh wow, I can eat anything. Like
I
I can
know.
have whatever I want. Like I could literally have whatever I want, and this is like not complicated. So I hope everyone eventually gets back there. I feel like we're moving that way.
Yeah, no, I totally agree too on that bit about the stress and actually being happy in your life. Like I think, I just noticed for me, because I'm really good, I eat a lot of food, I get sun, I do all the fucking things and the
Yeah.
supplements or whatever. But then if there's times when I'm quite stressed, I'm constipated. Like it would
Yeah.
just for the day, and then as soon as I can, resolve whatever's happening, and then I'm like, oh God, the poo
Hmm.
comes. You know what I mean? Like it's just so
Yeah.
fascinating. It really is.
I know. Well, I feel like that's also the same. Like if you like leave your house and you're somewhere where you're not comfortable, like you can't go to the bathroom properly, and then you come home and then all of a sudden you can, it's like your body fully relaxes. This is a good example of that. Yeah.
Oh, it's so
That's so
true.
funny.
It is
Yeah.
so true. And just thinking about being happy and living in alignment, I think, with what you actually want to do. Because I mean, obviously, the nutrition is such a huge part of it, but you can do
Yes.
everything right. I've seen that too. Like women in our program who've like been really stressful jobs, they're waking up every single night. They're doing everything perfectly with the food. As soon as they quit their
Oh
job,
man.
sleep through the night.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I have had a lot of that's a message I've been trying to get across for many years. Some people are super triggered by it and get mad at me like, well, you can't just quit your job. I'm like, I don't know. I did. Like, I don't know. Like I sacrificed a lot of different things for my well-being and for healing my body. And I feel like in a in most situations you can like find something that's better for you, even if you
Mm.
have to give up something else during that period of time. But I've had a lot of people who have messaged me like, I was really triggered by what you said years ago, but I ended up quitting
Really?
my job and like now I'm healed in my body and I'm feeling so good. So it's definitely there's something to it for sure.
Yeah. And I've been sharing a bit on Instagram, like I've been doing this emotional coaching with this lady, Greta. And in the last, we've been working with her for a while, and the last probably like 4 or 5 months, we've made amazing progress and just really like getting to the root, because there's some sort of behavior. I won't go into all the details and bore everyone with it, but some behaviors and patterns and, like things that were stressing me out. And once we actually got to sort of like the childhood stuff and address that and work through that, and then I got really clear on what I wanted and align myself with that. because I was always the same with the food. Like I'm very consistent with my food. And like I said, all the things that I
Yeah.
do. And when I was out of alignment emotionally, like would wake up at 1, 2 a.m. all the time, no
Wow.
matter what I did with the food. And then as soon as
Wow.
we started work through all the stuff, and I feel like I'm in such a good place now and really in alignment with what I want and my life and everything. And not that I was fully out of alignment without going into
Yeah.
bloody details. I don't want to bore everyone, but I'm just like, when your heart and your mind, when your mind
Yes.
is aligned with
Yeah.
your heart, it's like it blew my mind, it just,
Yes.
so I can only encourage people, like change can seem hard, but imagine living the next 20 years of your life, not living in alignment, not living in alignment with your
I
heart,
know.
and what you want. And you're right, you might have to sacrifice some things, but it's going to be something better. Like the next
Yes.
thing will be something better, you know?
Yes. It really is. I feel like so worth it. And I really think also as women, like we need that, It's like as you were sharing about what you're going through, I was thinking about just women in general, like when our emotions are sort of like out of whack, or we're not like pursuing what is true to us, like we close up in every aspect, like even in like our relationships with partners, we like you won't have enjoyable sex if you
Yes.
are emotionally like closed off, or out of alignment with your truth. It's like it affects everything. It really affects everything, even your fertility. Like you I don't think like women realize like how much that plays into all these little aspects and how important that is. So it's very awesome to talk about.
Honestly, like Noel, I can't, like, because it's been taking me a while for it to all to click and for me
Yeah.
to get to this point. And I was talking to Greta today, actually, and I was like, this is unbelievable. Like, I feel so in alignment now. And I know that
Yeah.
whatever's going to happen is it's going to happen. Like, it's all working out for me. Like, if that makes sense. Like, you just once you, yeah,
Yes.
it's crazy.
Yeah.
It sounds crazy. Like, it's hard to really describe, but everything that you've said, I agree with
Yeah.
110%. And yeah, it's mind blowing, to be honest.
I know it is. It's crazy when that happens to you. I feel like that happened to me when I met my husband, who was like my mentor before my boyfriend, before my husband. So he was specialized in cognitive therapy, and he really, really helped me so much in my life. And just like realizing that I was pursuing things that were not meant for me. And I couldn't figure out like, why am I sick all the time? Like, why do I have all these issues? It's like, because you aren't meant to do, it seems so simple, but it's like, it's not. It's so hard when you're in it. But then when you're out of it, it's like, whoa, like, I can't believe that. I hope that for every woman, because I really think it makes a huge difference, like in your ability to sustain uh, your health, to keep like your radiance, to keep your weight, even to keep that in your whole metabolic system. Like all of that is really dependent on your happiness. It's
Totally.
wild. Yeah.
It is wild. Like the more I dive into it, the more I learn. And now we've come out the other side, and now it's like, okay, what's next? Like it's exciting. It's so exciting to the
Yeah.
possibility, and you just think, yeah, it's fascinating. But I think once you go through it, and it's can like there was times I've cried and cried and cried, like just
Yeah.
like can't fucking do this. Like it's because trying these old patterns that just,
Yeah.
like it just, but it's really worth it, I think.
It is.
Yeah.
It's worth going through like the pain of it all to come to a place where you're finally like in balance and regulated and in alignment with what you're supposed to be doing, and all of it's like falling into place. It's definitely worth it.
Yeah.
I feel like that was like becoming a mother for me. That was what I needed to pursue, and my purpose. And so not being a mom was like making me like ill almost. Like I was like, I don't want to be doing these other things. Like I didn't want to be a health coach. I didn't want to be doing that kind of stuff anymore. I was like, I want to be a mom. And but I didn't have a husband, so it's hard.
Yeah.
you
Need some
know,
sperm. Yeah.
yeah. But upon meeting my husband, it all really clicked for me that like that was what was going to help me thrive. And I think that's why I ended up thriving so much in motherhood, because it was true for me, you know.
So good. I love it. And
Yeah.
you are inadvertently a health coach. Really?
Yes, I
You
am.
are. You're
I am.
coaching
Yeah.
through your
It's
life
so funny. I
experience,
know.
you
I
know?
know. And I think for me, like what I really didn't want was like the one-on-one anymore. Because I had a brick and mortar practice. I was seeing
Mm.
clients and I was, making herbal formulas, writing their diet plans and doing body therapies and facials and doing all these things. And I was burning myself out. Like I was exhausted and I felt like the work I was doing wasn't meaningful enough. So I feel like the online space is great for me because I
Mm.
can really set like hard boundaries and it
Mm.
doesn't impede on like my family life or my personal life or even my own energetics. Like I can choose to show up when I feel like I can give, and when I can, like I can give a lot, and then I can take some days off. It's like it really is like much easier for me in that way. So I feel like that online space found me because I needed it.
Yeah.
you
And,
know.
like, it's just, you can get your message out there. Hey, like,
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's amazing. Yeah. Anyway, we've totally got sidetracked here. All right.
Yeah.
Sorry. But
That's
that
okay.
was all really great. But what we actually came on to talk about was hydration. And
Yes, totally different, but
that hydration is really important. But what I see and what happened to me before I found Emma and Ray, and
yeah.
I would drink 3 liters of water every single day without fail, like just force it in. I was peeing all the time.
Yes.
And I just want to like say that we're not saying that you shouldn't drink water and hydration isn't important. We're absolutely not saying that,
No,
because I think
yeah,
some people say
definitely
that,
not
oh, but you're
that.
not saying no. Like some days, for example, when because it's quite hot here now and I sweat a lot and I train, I've got this
Yeah.
bottle. I love bubbly water. So I do the soda
Yeah.
stream, put some salt in there, or I've got some mineral drops. And some days I'll drink two or
Yeah.
three of them because I'm really
Yeah.
thirsty and I'm hot and I'm sweating. And then
Yeah.
other days I have less,
Yeah.
so I just wanted to talk about this sort of myth in the fitness industry that you must drink a certain amount of water every single day. And then we can talk about like how to hydrate properly rather than,
Yes. Yes. Yeah. I think it's really interesting. I used to do the same thing. I used to train like twice a day and then drink my body weight in water. Like I don't even know what I was doing. It was insane. I was always peeing. I was always dehydrated. I couldn't make sense of it. But, then upon learning about physiology deeper and understanding, that water flushes out your minerals,
mm,
that you can't just drink plain water all day in that amount
mm,
and expect to be hydrated. We are also lacking minerals in our food system, in our soil, so we do need that added into it, where most of us are drinking, if you're drinking reverse osmosis water, or like your water is totally stripped of minerals too, there's nothing in there either, and it can really throw off the mineral balance in your body and dehydrate you. And when you are dehydrated, it's not just like, I think people think like dehydrated, like I'm just dry, like I'm just not hydrated, but it's more than that. It's a stress on your adrenals, it's a stress on your kidneys, which is a stress on your thyroid. So it actually lowers your metabolic rate by over quote unquote hydrating with water.
mhm,
It's not, and it stresses your digestive system too. It's so much more than just like drinking too much water. And people will drink and drink and drink and be like, I'm still depleted. So you need those added minerals into your water or to vary the liquids that you drink throughout the day, like whether it's like an electrolyte, mix, or a magnesium bicarbonate with some potassium and sodium in it, or like you said, a pinch of salt or mineral drops, or even like I love like half coconut water, half water. Like you
mm,
do half and half of something, or like some juice in your water,
mm,
like apple juice in your water with some salt. Things like that, bone broth, like all those things are much more hydrating and mineral rich, and are going to actually like help your cells function
mm,
rather than just completely flush you out of all of your minerals and like burden your cells essentially.
mm. So how, like, because I know people listening thinking, well, then is there a magic number of, liters of water I should be drinking? How would you say to people to guide them on how much water they need to have?
I mean, so if you are thirsty, you're
Mm.
already dehydrated.
Mm-hmm.
So if you've reached the point of thirst, then it means you've been dehydrated for a very long time. So you never want to get to feeling thirsty. Um, but you know, everyone's body weight is different, and you're going to need water it based off of like your activity level, like your stress level, like all of that. So
Mm-hmm.
I would really just experiment with it. You know, like if you're drinking way too much water, like you're one of those people who carries around like this giant jug and there's like just plain water, like maybe don't do that. And then, you know, drink like a cup of water, see how you feel, you know, drink other liquids and try to kind of gauge how you feel. I think you can also take like an HTMA test to kind of find out where your minerals are at to see like what you might need more of, which doesn't tell you how much water to drink, but it'll tell you what minerals you might be lacking, which you can then like add into your water via like mineral drops or like salt or, you know, they make like specific mineral supplements and electrolytes for different things. I think that's very helpful. But I I run into this all the time with like breastfeeding moms because there's like this myth that if you drink more water, you produce more breast milk,
Mm.
which is actually not true at all.
Mm.
Like, yes, you need to be hydrated and you need to have like a good mineral status in your body. But it's not water that makes you produce more breast milk.
Mm.
Um, necessarily, you know, you actually can end up like we you know we are just saying like flushing out your minerals in your body, which can reduce your supply. And that's why a lot of women are like, it didn't work for me, like I drank 2 liters of water and it didn't work for me. You
Mm.
know, and it's because they need to have more minerals added in. So that's why raw milk is like so great, especially if you can like skim the fat off of it, because then you're not getting the extra fat and you're just
Mm.
like drinking the most hydrating, you know, drink in the
Mm.
entire world, which is, you know, so
Mm.
tasty anyways, which I know
I
not
know.
everyone's a fan of.
Oh, look, I mean, look, if I could have better access, like in Australia, it's illegal
Yeah,
and there's just not
I
really
know,
local
crazy.
farms around here, you know. So
Yeah.
I just say to people, look, you get the best quality milk that you can.
Yes, the best that
Right.
you can get. I think that's
That's
fine
right.
too.
Yeah. And, you know, like, I mean, we just drink normal pasteurized bloody, I mean, still got
Yeah, I mean,
calcium.
and that's the
Yeah.
thing is if you do well with that too, like then that's fine. Like some
Yeah.
people like do fine with that, you know.
Mm.
I mean, I actually do. Like I do fine with organic pasteurized milk. My husband doesn't, but I do. So like
Mm.
if I didn't have a cow, I'd survive.
I know if I had a cow, totally, I'd be smashing that bloody the raw milk because it is, you know, you can get it in Australia in some organic stores and they sell it as bath milk. So
Oh, bath
yeah,
milk.
it's
That's so
super
funny.
expensive though, like
Mm.
12, $13 for 2 liters. It's like really
Oh
expensive.
wow.
Yeah, it's
Oh wow.
crazy. So I know it's so crazy. Hey,
Wow. Okay.
um,
Yeah. I
um,
guess it pays to buy a cow at that point.
yeah, that's right. Just stick it out the back and milk the bloody cow.
Yeah.
What was the other question I was going to ask you? I think that's pretty much covered it. I think listen to your body. You know, like some days you're going to want to drink
Yes.
more. Some days you
Yeah,
might
it
want to
really
drink a bit
depends on your
less.
stress.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's stress, your activity, like, you know, and I think that's something else to think about. Like if you're a person of like high stress,
Mm.
you likely don't need as much water as you think you do, but you need more minerals because you're
Mm.
going to burn through your minerals like much quicker
Mm.
than say somebody who's like really relaxed and not so stressed. So if you tend to overdrink water, you're really stressed out, you're losing your hair, your adrenals are fatigued, like your aldosterone's really high. Like those are things I would just be like, you know, if somebody came to me with that, I'd be like, yeah, you probably should just like back it up on the water and like let's drink some juice, let's drink some coconut water, let's have some bone broth even,
Mm.
you know. I think that that's good to get your um to like truly hydrate yourself, you know.
Mm.
But I don't think you should be afraid of drinking water.
No,
Like
God,
I
no.
drink plain cups of water too. It's just
Yeah. Just don't, you don't need to force down 3 liters a day
yeah,
with no
I think
minerals
that
in it
that's
just to meet this quota of I have to drink 3 liters to be healthy. Yeah.
yes. I mean, I drink a ton of fluids because I am breastfeeding 2 children
Mm.
and I have a very active lifestyle.
Mm.
But I'm not generally drinking plain water. Like I'm usually drinking, like I'll do juice cut with water. Like I love apple juice cut with water, like cranberry juice and water. I'll do, mineral rich teas like nettle and hibiscus. I'll
Mm.
um always have raw milk. I have tons of raw milk. I drink like half a gallon of raw milk a day, probably. Maybe more. Maybe more now that I have a cow, but definitely that.
That's so good. I
Which
love
is
how you're
quite a
saying
bit.
like skim the, you skim off the fat, then you
Yes.
make butter and things out of it. And then you've got like the
Yeah.
skim milk. Yeah.
Yes. It's funny. I read on the Ray Peat forum, my name was mentioned, and then I felt like, oh my God, like I've finally made it in life. I'm on the Ray Peat forum. Um, ooh, ooh. And it was interesting. They said that they're like, how does Noelle maintain her figure while drinking so much raw milk? And somebody was just like, she skims the fat off of her milk.
Yeah. And it's like
And
drinking
it's
skim milk.
true.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it
Yeah.
is. It's raw skim milk. So,
Yeah.
and then we make butter, we make ice cream, we make
Yeah.
cheese, we make all this really yummy stuff. And, you can do that if you buy raw milk. If you buy pasteurized milk, you can't
Yeah.
do that, but you can always buy skim.
Yeah.
That's no big deal.
Yeah, 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 yeah. I know. I've heard that too. The Strong Sisters talk about that. Like when I interviewed them on the podcast last time, they get their goat milk and they've got this machine that gets the
I need to get that. I
yeah.
need to get that machine because I have a lot of milk.
How do you do
And
it?
I'm
Like it,
skimming
yeah,
the milk off,
it,
skimming the fat off every
yeah. You
day.
just actually literally skim it off. It looks like this amazing machine. I'm like, oh, that would be really
Yeah.
handy. And then they make the butter and that's probably what
Yeah.
people traditionally did, right? Who lived.
Yes,
Yeah.
because you needed that fat to cook your food.
Mm.
You needed the butter to cook your food and stuff. And yeah, you would just drink the milk or make cheese with it. Like there's a
Yeah.
lot of like skim milk recipes for cheese, like mozzarella cheese, really easy,
Oh,
cream
so good.
cheese.
Yeah.
I love cream cheese. Cream cheese is like my
Oh,
favorite in
same. I
like
love cream cheese.
everything.
I love
Yeah.
mozzarella too.
Mm,
Yum. Oh,
so
that's
good.
so
But
good.
both are like really easy to make too, like once you
Really?
get into it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
wow.
it's not as like crazy hard as you think.
I might have to
Yeah.
check it out actually, because I've been thinking I just want to get back into the cooking a bit more now. I've got a bit more time, like make all these, and I love cheese. Oh my God, I love cheese and
Yes,
pizza,
cheese is
and
so good.
want to do the sourdough pizza.
Yeah, man.
So
Oh,
yeah,
so good.
amazing. Oh, well, thanks so much, Noel. That was a great, even though we sort of talked about a million different other random
So
topics.
many things.
And
I know.
I'll pop links to your Instagram down below, and
Yeah.
that people can go there, follow her, and then you can see all her good recipes and all of her business stuff is up there, her courses and everything.
Yeah.
But no, really appreciate you coming on, and I'm sure I'll have you on again.
Yes, I love chatting with you. So anytime.
Thanks, Noel.